Hi, this is Kyle Schwarber, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show. It's Monday, September 23rd, 2024. We got Ruben Amar Jr. here, Jim Salisbury. I'm Todd Zielecki. Powered, of course, by the Foul Territory Network. Guys, how are we doing this morning? I'm still stuck up in New York. I thought I was going to be home on Saturday. I thought I was going to have the weekend off, but the Phillies decided not to clinch the NL East. So I stuck around all weekend, and maybe they'll clinch it on Monday night. You guys good?
Yeah. Doing great. Other than the disappointment that happened over the course of that road trip.
Yeah, 2-5, Ruben. What does anything jump out at you? For me, it was like just a lot of swing and miss. The offense just kind of fell flat the whole week, which is kind of concerning because these are two playoff teams and they could be facing the Mets and the Brewers. And there were a lot of scouts from all the contending teams here this weekend watching this Phillies effort, and I'm sure they're taking down their little notes and going, "All right, get them to chase." And
well, I think a couple of things. One, we went through this in 2011, 2010 when we had been like overly scouted to the point where all of our guys were really exploited, and I think it really affected us as far as our offense was concerned in that era. I think the exact same thing is happening now, that teams are seeing some of the flaws that this team has, and there's a lot of swing and miss in it, and there's also a lot of guess. The only guy that I don't feel is like guessing at the plate consistently is Alec Boehm, and I think that's why you're seeing him have consistent contact, even though sometimes it's not hard. I just see so much guess, and I'm talking about from Schwarber to Harper to Turner, et cetera, et cetera. Castellanos always been sort of a guess hitter, but I see that happening basically throughout the lineup instead of these guys just kind of letting their ability like look for a fastball and adjust. And I know it's a very, very difficult thing to do because hitting is one of the toughest things in the world to do. But I'm seeing that a lot, and I gotta believe that everybody on the planet who is going to be involved in the playoffs is watching it as well, and it's a concern.
Yeah, I agree. You've seen a lot of guess and a lot of press because when you don't have success and that big expectation of a division championship that they talked about as far back as February is dangling right there, and it's not coming home to roost. You start gripping it tight, you start chasing it. A lot of high fastballs last night, had a lot of trouble with fastballs late on them, chasing them out of the zone. They just look like kind of almost like a football team that's stuck in the red zone and can't punch it over. They probably will Monday night. I think coming home will do them a world of good, getting out in front of their home fans. But, these Mets could be a major nuisance. They remind me, you mentioned 10 and 11, Ruben. They remind me a lot of the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
In 2011, the Cardinals lost Wainwright. This team lost Senga. The Cardinals went on a major second half run. I think the Cardinals finished like 23-9. And the Mets have that, momentum. They have emotion, and they seem to believe they could be a very tough out in the postseason. Of course, they got to get there, but they're up 2. They got a big series starting Tuesday night with Atlanta. I mean, to me, that's going to be must-see TV. Atlanta Mets, really good finish down there. So, but the Mets, really tough team. I mean, in Phillies, you waste a great effort by Zack Wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
On Sunday night, they're 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position in the last 2 games. Yeah. And we talk about this odd noise, and you talk about all these scouts that are figuring this out. People have known this about this team for a long time. The way video scouting is, you don't even have to have scouts behind the backstop to know this. They're caught in one of their funks where they're swinging and missing. They're pressing with runners on base, leaving men in scoring position. And it's everybody's worst fear that it's going to rear its head at the worst time, sometime in October. Maybe the plus is it's happening here in the final week of September. They are still going to win the division. and then maybe they can get on some type of a roll in October. We'll see.
Yeah, the Phillies, so on that 7-game road trip, struck out 81 times. That's 4 short of the most strikeouts they've ever had in a 7-game span, 85. The chase rate was up to 35.2% during this road trip. Season average is about 29, so it's up about 6 percentage points. So chasing more, striking out more. So if you're Rob Thompson, are you sitting there saying, all right, it's just 7 games. They clinched the postseason. They know they're going to clinch the NL East. Maybe they're just down a little bit. This stuff happens. The Mets are playing for their life, whatever it might be. Are you trying to rationalize the 7 games, or are you a little bit nervous that it's coming so close to the postseason? They have 6 more games, and then assuming they get a bye, they're going to be off for 5 days, which probably won't help their hitting. Are you a little nervous about it, Ruben?
I am nervous about it. I mean, listen, this is not the first time we've seen this happen. I mean, we've seen this happen in the playoffs last year. They were exploited with the high fastball. I would just pound high fastballs to this team all day long and keep pounding it, whether it's 2 strikes or no strikes or what have you. And every once in a while, I'd flip a breaking ball out of the zone, and that's what I would do. If I was scouting them, I'd pound high fastballs and high fastballs and high fastballs until the cows come home, and until they, have the ability to lay off that pitch. I just keep going at them. I mean, that would be my scouting report against them, because they're susceptible to that pitch, and they have not been attacking the high fastball very well. Last year, we saw Bryson Stott attack the high fastball much better with his top hand. Right now, he's long with his swing. I see guys, swinging and missing at it a lot. Again, it's a tough pitch to hit, and it's very, very enticing because it's closer to your eyes. You can see it better. I had a long talk with Billy Williams way back when, a longtime hitting coach with the Chicago Cubs. And I said, Billy, why do guys swing at that high fastball so much? He said, well, think about it, Ruben. You can see it with your eyes better. You can track it better. And they're also calling that pitch in the upper part of the zone now more than any time in history. So there's a couple things working against them, and that's how I would attack them.
And if you can, it's funny, you talk about the high fastball. Remember, they wanted Vince Velasquez to throw that pitch, but he just couldn't locate it.
Right.
You have to be really precise with the location of it. But, when this team is swinging and missing, you don't even have to locate it that well. It can be up above the letters out of the zone, and you're going to get a swing and miss on it because they're so undisciplined. They're trying to make too much happen instead of letting the game come to them. I feel like there was a lot of that this week just because the division title is hanging there and they all know it. And, just like I said, I see a lot of press right now.
And which is interesting, Jim, and I'll reiterate, I'll just talk about that a little bit. This is a veteran team. These guys have been around. There's no reason for them to be pressing. And they know they're getting to where they need to go as far as the NL East is concerned. And they should trust the guys behind them. They have all very, very good hitters. I mean, these are really good hitters. And, they need to put themselves in a position to allow the next guy pass the baton. When they're doing that consistently, that's when they can sustain rallies, base hits, walks, stealing a base. And that's, I think, the mentality is that, hey, I don't necessarily have to do it. I have to make that pitcher throw me a strike so I can do my damage.
Ruben, do you and Todd, do you guys indeed see some press?
I feel like that's in there.
I see some big swings, yes.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with Harper, I was looking at that at bat I think it was his first at bat. I don't think he swung at a pitch in the strike zone. Every single pitch was out of the strike zone that he swung at. And so, to me, it seems to me like that's a guy who's trying to make something happen in a big game, because he had not been hitting the ball particularly well on this road trip. I don't know what he hit on the road trip, but I don't think he had a great. Put up great numbers. So that to me, because when Bryce is good, he's laying off that stuff and he's waiting for that 1 or 2 pitches in the zone to really jump on and he did not do that last night.
And last night was the game he wanted to be Bryce Harper's superstar, national TV, chance to lock down the division and have a little celebration on national TV, right after the game on the field. It just looked like he was trying to, do too much. Looked like he was trying to meet the moment instead of maybe the moment come to him.
So speaking of all this, you mentioned Zack Wheeler. The Phillies went into Wednesday night in a 34-game winning streak when their starting pitchers have pitched 7 or more innings. It's the second longest streak in baseball history, the longest streak, of course, in franchise history. They've now lost their last 2 when their starting pitchers gone seven innings. Nola on Wednesday night and Zack Wheeler on Sunday night. And we will be right back.
All right, this one's for the dudes. You know how scary it can get when you're going for a close shave below the belt, and that's why FT trusts Manscaped for those sensitive areas. Their newest package is the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, including the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra.
Their 5th-generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires.
Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 5.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Want more wet products? Say no more. Manscaped has a new Buff Bundle, which is all you need to keep the summer heat a breeze. This bundle includes their signature silicone scrubber plus body wash, so ditch your nasty loofah and grab a taste of freshness.
Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code FOUL20.
And we are back, and I'm going to test you guys today because it is time for the Philly of the Week. All right, guys. We just talked about a 2-5 road trip and how nothing really went right on the hitting end. So Philly of the Week is, of course, brought to you by Shibe Vintage Sports. Get your unique throwback Phillies tees, hats, and sweatshirts from the local artists at their shops in Center City, Wayne, and Westchester, and at shibesports.com. We always love our Shibe gear. You guys might not love picking your Philly of the Week, though. I have one guy in my mind.
There's only one.
Okay, let's see if you and I are in the same wavelength. Are we in the same wavelength? Who's your?
Well, I'm a total cop out right now because I'm going to go with Zack Wheeler.
Oh, okay, that's who I had.
Total cop out. I mean, what can you say about this guy other than he's the best pitcher in baseball? It's it for me. I mean, as far as the starting pitchers are concerned, you can talk about the guy who's Class A over there, the closer with the Cleveland Guardians. He's been spectacular. Should win the AL Cy Young, I think. But this guy's been unbelievable. And I obviously Chris Sale's had an unbelievable season. But I'm sorry, he's pitched well down the stretch. He's pitched well against teams that are contending. He's pitched, he's not just well. He's dominated them, and he's just been fantastic. His last 2 outings, just spectacular. Again,
Zack Wheeler, 14 innings on this road trip, 2 starts, 11 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts, 1.93 ERA. He's making his last-second push for NL Cy Young. I don't know if he's going to get there, guys. I'll be honest with you. If you look at the overall stats, and I just feel like too many of the national writers are going to say, wow, Chris Sale, what a great story, man. He was, he was traded for nothing, basically, and he's been hurt all these years, and he's 18-3, 2.38 ERA. But what's interesting, guys, is Chris Sale in his last start only went 5 innings, and his velo was way, way, way down in his last start. So he's starting on he could have had 2 more starts this season. Chris Sale, I think he's starting on Wednesday against the Mets. They're giving him an extra day, so now he cannot pitch the final game of the season if they need it.
That is
interesting.
That's a huge development.
He's had some serious, injury stuff.
But that's I don't know if Zach goes out and dominates in his last start in Washington. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to probably taper him back an inning or whatever. They could do that, but But he's certainly worthy to win Cy Young. Go ahead, go Jim.
I think this week you should name it Philly of the Week, WEAK. It's not much there. I'm gonna go out of the box, and my Philly of the Week is the great Phil Sheridan and his clubhouse staff, because of this 2-5 road trip. They're gonna have to. The Schuylkill River is gonna flow through the Phillies clubhouse one of these nights, probably tonight. And Garrett Stubbs is going to be doing the backstroke, and they're going to have Phil Sheridan and his boys and whatever service they use are going to have to clean that clubhouse up and get it ready for the next day.
That's a great one.
The other part of it is that they've had to prepare for this for how long? I mean, they've had to drag alcohol and champagne and all types of stuff all over the place.
Well, it was funny. So on Wednesday in Milwaukee, we're walking toward the clubhouse. They lost, of course. That was the NOLA game. And I see these 10 cases of Budweiser sitting outside the clubhouse. And that was part of the beer that they were going to crack into. And I asked if they left it there. And the Budweiser was left there, which somebody in Milwaukee, of course, will take. But it is ironic, though, because Miller, Budweiser, they're rivals. So it's just kind of funny that they left 10 cases of Budweiser in Milwaukee when it should have been Miller Lite or the High Life, the champagne of beer, as we know. So, that's a good one, though, Jim, the clubhouse staff, because they're going to have a lot of work ahead of them.
Yeah, I remember the days when clubhouse celebrations, they were big, but they were a little more muted. Now they have to cover everything, and they put this floor saver down, and
it is wild.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah,
they drape all that stuff across, and they actually build those lockers so that they have actual hooks in them to prepare for that, and they do that pretty much across the board now, even for teams that are not contenders.
Yeah, they build them right into, because the Phillies have hooks there all the time, part of the the hardware in the clubhouse. But these celebrations have become marketing events, so they'll. I remember the days when the clubhouse staff would duct tape some plastic above the lockers. Now, as Ruben said, they have the hooks that are part of the hardware of the clubhouse, and the actual tarps that they put over the lockers are sponsored by a beer company. You can only drink Budweiser during the celebrations, at least in the postseason. The goggles.
That's an MLB thing, yeah.
Yeah, the goggles are comped and branded. It's just the days of Yogi Berra going boop,
having a Schlitz. Or whatever
they're long gone.
Having an Ortlieb's.
They had the plastic tarp hanging over the lockers in Milwaukee the entire week. As soon as they got there, the plastic was up because they knew they could clinch a postseason berth. Outside chance they could clinch the NL East in Milwaukee. They never had the plastic up in New York at all. But I was told that it takes supposedly 10 minutes to get the plastic up over the lockers in New York. And as one of the Phillies guys said, we can do it in 5.
That's your Philly of the week.
That's why you picked your Philly. That's a great Philly of the week, Jim.
Good call.
Yes, it is.
Phil Sheridan. Atta baby, Phil.
Yeah. So let's wrap up a couple things here. Austin Hayes played 2 rehab games this weekend in Lehigh Valley. Supposedly he felt great afterwards. He played 9 innings in left field on Sunday. That's the whole thing. He was feeling fatigued from the kidney infection, the antibiotics, and all that stuff. He feels good. He's probably going to be activated on Tuesday. So there's a lot of talk about how they are going to work these guys if Austin Hayes is going to make the postseason roster, which I think he will now at this point because he's going to get a week of at-bats. He'll get a week more of like live simulated at-bats, assuming they get the bye. So you could have Hayes in left, maybe platoon with Brandon Marsh. You could have Marsh play some center field. You could have Rojas and Cal Stevenson platoon in center field. You have Cody Clemens who can play some left field. They have a lot of options right now. Do you guys lean any particular way and how you would like to see it work? I think the Austin Hayes is an everyday player in left field thing is, in my opinion, has got to go bye-bye because his splits lefty-righty are just ridiculously drastic. He's got like a 900 OPS against lefties, a 550 OPS against righties. How would you guys like to play that? If Hayes is back, which I assume he will be.
I think, go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
No,
Jim.
you're good.
I think Hayes is definitely going to play a lot, and he may play more than he may not be an everyday guy, just because I don't know health wise if they're worried about whether or not he's able to do that. But he's definitely going to play against lefties, no doubt.
Right.
Especially with the way this team is swinging the bat, they need some depth in the back end of that lineup, and when he's going well, I mean, he can make some contact. He can put the ball in play. He can have some grinder at bats. They need some grinders. They need some guys who can put the ball in play and to have quality at bats. So I think that's I believe that's going to happen. He may actually play quite a bit against righties just to see, towards the end here. I'm not sure how many right-handers are going to be pitching for. I don't even think. I guess there's maybe one left-hander for Washington. In Mackenzie Gore. Is Corbin still in the rotation? I guess they have two. But he's going to get some at bats, even if they're right-handed. I mean, I think they're going to try to get him as many at bats as possible to get him ready and then decide, because nobody else is really lighting it up.
He should play right through, because this rest thing about clinch and get some rest, to me it's a little overrated this year, because you're going to get a first-round bye. You're going to get your rest. So I would go with the hangover rest, maybe a day or two for you, Harper and Realmuto, a couple. But you're going to get rest during that first round week when the other teams are playing. So I think it's a little balancing act there.
But what about the postseason though? Do you run him out there against the game?
No, I'm saying you need to play Austin Hayes a lot to get him a lot this final week.
Right. And I get that.
Yeah, you probably, because you need the contact, so you're probably going to play him. You're definitely going to play him against lefties. I don't know what are they going to do against righties? I'm not sure. Clemens.
Clemens, Marsh.
I don't know. Maybe Clemens. He's had some pretty good at bats. I mean, I know he struck out to end the game yesterday, but
probably go with Marsh. Yeah.
I guess they'll go with Marsh in left. They could go with Marsh in center and Clemens in left. I don't think that they feel comfortable with that
that defensive alignment.
I wouldn't myself. I don't know. It's that's why Rob Thompson gets paid the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly right. What about Ranger Suarez? His last start, velo was up, but the command wasn't there. I think he spiked like 5 or 6 curveballs in the dirt. I know he spiked another changeup in the dirt, so his command really wasn't there. Didn't seem to have a feel for his off-speed stuff. But did you see any reason to be encouraged? Because that's such a big thing. They will need a 4th starter in the NLDS. It's not. They don't get that extra day off this year, so they're going to need a 4th starter.
What I found interesting was his comments after the game about him not being able to use his lower half, and you could tell. I mean, the fact that he has not been able to get his hips and rotate his hips in and the work in because it's been bothering his back, and he hasn't been able to do certain things to strengthen his lower half because of his back injury. I think they finally found sort of a formula. At least that's what it sounded like in the post-game interview, some formula where he's been able to either loosen it up or strengthen his lower half, because that's what he needs. And that's what every player needs, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher. Your lower half is so important to you for your base, for your power, for your drive, for your ability to create arm speed and life, especially for a pitcher. I mean, you'll talk to any pitcher, old school. I mean, Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, all those guys, their lower halves had to be strong. Excuse me, and they worked. That's why they ran so much. They ran so much because they wanted endurance and power in the bottom half. And I think, and I'm hopeful for Rangers' sake and for the Phillies' sake, that he has sort of turned the corner, has gotten the strength back and his ability to drive with his lower half.
That was illuminating, because we've been scratching our head and to hear, and like you said, Johnny Padres used to call that lower half your hips, your butt, your thighs, your hand. He used to call it the engine room. It was all that power came from.
That's great.
You look at Roger. Anytime Roger Clemens had a tweak of the right groin, he was shut down, because they had to nip it in the bud, because that was his drive. So,
remember what happened to Halladay then when he tweaked his groin in the playoffs in San Francisco? Didn't really have the finish on his pitches. Left a couple pitches. Cody Ross.
Cody Ross.
I want to show that. I mean, it kills me that Cody Ross name because he got beat up a couple of times because he couldn't run that sinker in on him.
And he almost didn't even make the postseason roster if Guillen didn't get whatever. He got in trouble. And remember that? It was all.
Yeah, please.
So,
oh my gosh.
He wasn't even. He was picked off a waiver wire because he was supposed to be a block.
he was a block. And then he ended up getting on the post. He ended up off the postseason roster, and what's his name ended up on? Cody.
Don't get me going.
If you're listening, if you're listening to this podcast, you should check out YouTube because the look on Ruben's face as he's talking about Cody Ross is priceless.
Hey, Ruben, I'll get you off to Cody Ross, and I'll go on one of my famous tangents. So you mentioned lower half, and I'm a big believer in the lower half for pitchers, and we all are. And you mentioned, they don't run as much, or they used to run a lot. And when I first started covering baseball, there were these things called foul poles, and during BP, the pitcher would run foul poles, foul pole to foul pole. Today we got 5 poles, tomorrow we got 6, whatever. I never see that anymore. Do these guys even know what quote unquote poles are?
I don't know, but I do know the foul poles. I think that some guys still do it, but I think the wear and tear that running creates on some of these guys of backs and stuff like that. I'm sure there's technology now to keep these guys strong, but some guys just don't do it. I think it's different. I don't see poles. I think poles were the greatest thing for me to get myself ready for spring training. I mean, that's all I did was run poles, man. And I dreaded them and I hated them. You jog for about, 20 yards, you sprint for about, 70 yards or 80 yards, and then you jog the rest of the way, and then you turn around and do it again. And those were a bitch.
Yeah. Jim, maybe they're like you. Maybe they're on the elliptical behind closed doors.
We used to come in and on like the whiteboard in the clubhouse, we'd have pictures, 10 poles.
Yeah.
And I would be willing to bet a lot of guys don't know what poles are. It was that was the lingo, poles.
Yeah.
Phillies Cubs this week. One of these 3 games, guys. I'm going to make a prediction. They're going to win one of these 3 games. They're going to clinch the
don't win tonight.
Can you imagine the disaster that could happen if they get to the point where they are in the Washington series and they have to win a baseball game? Washington's got nothing to lose, and they just go hog wild. I mean, this city will be it will be a blaze.
Nola's going to pitch great tonight. He's going to give you 6 2/3, 2 runs, and Schwarber might hit a leadoff bomb to electrify that place. I think they win it Monday night. What do you?
Okay.
Give me a prediction.
I think Monday night. I think they lock it down. I think they're over the delay. They want a party.
I agree
like the party. They want a party.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Nate Pearson, is going to start for them. He's been a reliever. He was a uber prospect for Toronto. Has never really come around. Always had a great arm. Never really came around. But hopefully the Phillies can do some damage on this guy and knock him out and cruise on home.
If it doesn't happen on Monday night, however, Tuesday is TBD versus Justin Steele. Taijuan Walker might pitch in that game, but Rob Thompson said they're going to use a lot of their bulk guys to get through that on Tuesday. And then, of course, Wednesday would be Christopher Sanchez versus Javier Assad. So
I would not be surprised if Ruiz doesn't pitch that game. If they don't need Ruiz, if they clinch, I would not be surprised. You know what? If they don't clinch and Ruiz is not used, I would not be surprised if Ruiz doesn't start as an opener and throw a couple of innings and go from there.
Sound like Rob was open to an opener for that, so that would make sense, and that would be a good guy to start with. He's been very effective.
He's been outstanding.
They got to get a win.
And he's been durable.
Yeah, it's been durable. All right, guys, thanks. We will be back later this week, hopefully to wrap up the Phillies' first NL East title since 2011. See you guys.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Joe.
This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.